This is Alicia. Thank you very much, Alicia, for joining us. She is going to talk to you tonight about the secret sauce, which, as an Agile coach, I am dying to hear because I am always looking for the secret sauce to success as a coach. So without further ado, I am going to leave it to you, ma'am, to take it away for the evening.
Thank you, Amy. Hey, listen, so John is here and he's my Zoom producer. And how do I hand off or give him whatever it is he needs to be my Zoom producer?
We can certainly make John a co-host.
Co-host. Okay, good. I
Yes.
think he's in here.
And John's last name?
Is that John Cook?
Eisenschmidt.
Oh, got it.
Perfect. John, if you need any other support, just shout us out in the chat. We're happy to help you.
Thanks.
All right. All right, folks. Well, let's go ahead and get started. We've got a lot to cover and lots of folks here, so I'm really excited about this. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name is Alicia McLain, and I am coming to you from Southern California. I am an independent Agile coach. I've been at my practice since 2015 as an independent. I've been in the Agile community since 2006. And so what we're going to be talking about tonight is one of those competencies in the competency wedge of Agile coaching that really helps bring about this culture of accountability. Before I jump in, I just want to again give a shout out to my Zoom producer, John Eisenschmidt. He is helping me to produce tonight. So thank you very much, John. He is also in Southern California, and he's also the co-founder of the Agile Coaching Exchange, which is another organization that I represent. I think we'll get into a little bit of that along the way. A thank you to Nancy for remembering me and asking me to speak. A thank you to Richard. A thank you to Amy, all of you for helping this to get started and get going. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So this talk, just so we know, this talk I did last year around this time. I did it at an international conference in Denver, and it was interesting because the group that was coordinating it said, well, you know, expect about 50 or so people to attend. And so it was a good thing I planned for more because we had probably about 3 times that number. And the reason is just like Amy said, you know what? This idea of accountability just keeps escaping us. And so we're really looking for ways to build accountability and build cultures of accountability. And there are a lot more people that are interested in this than we think. So let's jump on in. So we find ourselves in very interesting times, to say the least. I hope you are all well, you are all safe. And I have to say that despite the crappy wrapping paper around this thing called COVID-19, the fact remains that because of COVID-19, we're here tonight together. So I want to thank you all for being here, and just know that we're in for an interesting ride around this topic of coaching. So you all are very familiar with Zoom at this point because we've all lived in this Zoom world. What I'd like to do is jumpstart us on just a quick check-in, a Twitter check-in, 140 characters or less. John's going to go ahead and drop that out into the chat. What interests you about this topic? Why are you here? What's the thing for accountability and coaching for you that brings you to this talk tonight? So you can go ahead and drop your responses into chat. I just want to let you know I'm going to be looking around in a couple different places because I've got 3 giant screens in front of me and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. All right, so what's your Twitter check-in? What is interesting to you about this topic? Who are you? Where do you work? And what interests you about this topic? We'll see what comes into chat and see how we get to know some of our folks here tonight. "140 characters or less." I should start to see some people hitting the return button. I see a lot of downcast eyes here. All right. Hi, Mary. Thank you for joining. Julie, thank you for joining. Excellent. Nancy, good to see you. Lisa, very nice. Thank you for joining. Mark, thank you for joining. Yeah. Well, good. Continue to drop your introductions in there and we'll just see more about what's interesting to you about this topic. You know, when I discovered this concept of coaching and the structure of a coaching arc, it was really clear to me that this really was that way that we could begin building this in our organizations. And so we'll be looking forward to seeing this, and you're going to get a chance to try it. So I'm really interested to see what you take out of it. All right. So let's keep going. So as I mentioned, I'm from Southern California, and I've been in the Agile coaching community for quite some time. My business is called Operational Innovations, and that's a picture that my wife took out at the glider port in La Jolla. And so San Diego County right here on the Pacific coast is where I am. I invite you to LinkedIn connect and reach out. All right. There's a bunch of links that John just dropped into the chat, so you can check those out. My business, my YouTube channel, all of those things are out there. Okay. So I wanted to say this now because I'm going to say it at the end again, and I want for those people who have to leave early to catch it now. So there's two things tonight. I'm going to drop a link in for feedback at the end, or actually John will drop it in at the end. So please feel free to give the feedback there. I'd be glad that you'll do that. The other piece is I am giving away a complimentary Agile EQ assessment. And so I think I know I have up to 50, I might have 60. So it's the first 60 people that send out their information on this contact form. John just dropped the link in there. It's the contact form, and we'll put it in again. So you want to make sure that you get your name out there, because I need to send you the information for your Agile EQ assessment. So Agile EQ is, I'm a Wiley authorized partner, and Agile EQ is one of the emotional intelligence assessments, and it's around building agility around your emotional intelligence. So what a perfect assessment it is for our Agile community. And so if you're interested in that, please follow that link and put your information out there. Okay. I've got a couple of things also to offer, some executive and leadership coaching, some discovery sessions that are open and available for you. If you're interested in that, you can put coaching in the contact form, and then some information about my public workshop that's coming up. All right, so let's jump on in. All right, so what are we going to talk about tonight? So we are going to go around this little treasure map here, and we're going to talk a bit about, or just really explore what coaching is. Here's what I find. In the Agile coaching community, we understand that there's this Agile coaching competency framework, but not everybody really understands that professional coaching wedge and kind of what's in that wedge and what are we looking to build out there. So we're going to explore that a bit. You'll see a demo. We'll have a chance to see a demo. And then, you know, you'll see how you can start your competency in coaching. I'll provide some book resources, and you'll get a takeaway from this right along with your assessment. So let's go ahead and jump in. This is our roadmap to our success for tonight. All right, so when you think about this competency of professional coaching, and you think about what's happening for the person being coached and the person that is doing the coaching, which one do you think is the coach here? The person on the left or the person on the right? Who do you think is the coach? The person on the left or the person on the right? You can go ahead and drop that in the chat. So it looks like a few of you are really keenly aware that the coach is that person that's sort of helping the coachee, or that person that comes with the thing going on, to unravel themselves and unravel their thinking. Because this is what happens, right? They come to you and there's all this conflict going on, and you're there as the coach to help invite them to get that unraveled and get themselves sorted out. And so this is what we see with professional coaching. We see this ability of the coachee to find their own resources and get themselves unraveled, but it is in the coach holding the space for that that they are able to do that. One of the biggest things that I find supports coachees and people being coached is this ability to get focused. You know, as I mentioned, when the coachee comes in with all this stuff going on, there's just a million topics going on. And so the coach is there to help them kind of collect themselves and really think about what it is they're looking for and what it is they need out of this. And that's actually one of my favorite coaching questions. We'll talk more about that in a bit. So focus is key, very, very important. I also find that as an entrepreneur, particularly during these times, coaching is really, really important because with everything going on in the world, it is super easy to get scattered and to be all over the place. And so coaching really does help with that. I have several peer coaches, and focus is key for me. So when we look at the numbers about what coaching does for you and does for your organizations, you know, we have a pretty decently high return on investment for coaching. And one of the things that I'll say, I was just talking with a potential client about this today, when you combine coaching with training, you could really up your return on investment for your training. Because here's what happens with training. You send your folks to a class, they get all this great information. They're all excited about it. They can't wait to jump in and start building these new ideas in your organization, and they run smack up against your system. And then they're like, well, I can't do this here, right? And so coaching is what helps support them in developing these new ideas and building them out in your culture. And so you really can give yourself a really strong return on investment when you include coaching along with your training. So there's some benefits to the person being coached, and I know you can see the big flashing red light there. This is what we're here to talk about, is this accountability. You know, what is it that is the benefit to the coachee? Well, there's a lot. You, as I mentioned before, you have focus that you can get from having coaching. You have this accountability that's just built into the coaching conversation. You have a general ability to be self-propelling and self-relying when you're in a coaching session. You can communicate more effectively. You can manage your anxiety and fear when you have coaching. So there's a lot of benefit to it. Anybody out here in the group, have you ever had professional coaching before? You can give me a thumbs up if you've had professional coaching before. Yeah, a couple of people. Yeah, thank you, thank you. I've only got a limited window here. I don't know how many people we have here, but I can see several thumbs up, so thank you for that. Yeah, you know, professional coaching is so, so incredibly powerful. What I want to do next is I want to take a poll, and I want to see what you think. So John, can we bring the poll up? I want to see what you think about what the takeaways are for professional coaching. What do you think are the top 4 impacts that you get from having professional coaching yourself? And so if we can bring up that poll, you'll get a chance to pick your top 4 things that you see that would be an impact for professional coaching.
Alicia, just a small adjustment. We don't have the polls enabled, so I'm ready to put it into the chat. And maybe
Okay.
what we could suggest to people is there's 10 in the list. They can, you know, have a comma separated list
Sure.
of a couple things.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm going to put those in the chat now.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so these are the list of things that you can pick from, and if you think about the things from your perspective, which would be the top 4 impacts that coaching would bring to a coachee, go ahead and pick them. You can just pick the numbers, or you could put the words in there, whatever you want to do. Yeah, thanks, Mary. 2 and 3 for you. Who else? What do you think are the top 4 things that are real solid impacts for people in terms of what they get out of coaching? Yeah, awesome. So you all are listening, that's great. A lot of the things that you picked were a lot of things that I've just mentioned in terms of what we get out of coaching, which is great. You know, and I'm going to show you some results from a survey here, and we'll take a look at what are those top 4 things that we actually get from our impact of coaching. And so a survey here shows us that it's the improved communication that's right up at the top, increased self-esteem and self-confidence, this ability to really optimize working with your group, and then just better work-life balance. You know, when you're not sort of stressed all the time, really kind of processing your thoughts around whatever's going on at work or whatever's going on outside of work in the world, you know, you can just have you could be at ease. You can have more ease. And so these are the top 4 impacts that you get from having professional coaching. Now, increased self-esteem and self-confidence, that's the highest one here. I can't imagine anybody wouldn't need any of that. We're all human, right? So we need all the help that we can get, particularly in these times. All right, so thanks for playing along there with the poll, and we'll take a look back and see what we see here as we continue along. I want to get to the part where you get a chance to do some coaching. You get a chance to take a look at the the handout. Now that I think about it, I need to get that handout for you. John, do you have the handout that we're going to give later? Because I think I might have forgotten to send that to you.
I can probably find it.
Okay.
I'll take a look.
All right, thank you, sir. All righty, so benefits to your organization. So it's not just the coachee that gets the benefits from coaching, it's your organization that also gets benefits of coaching. And so when you think about it, there's this, the overcoming costly and time-consuming performance problems, just strengthening your bench overall, right? Now you have an employee pool. And I like to do this talk a lot in the project management space, because in classical project management, because they haven't quite all the way gotten there to the agile thinking about empowering teams and building self-propelling and self-supporting teams, you know, there's still this sort of classical approach that I need to be the center of all these, you know, things that come at me, and I need to have the answer to everything. And I just say, free yourself. Because when you have coached teams and they know how to come to their own solutions, you don't have to be that person that has all the answers. And I would invite you as Scrum Masters and team coaches to consider this as well. When the people come to you, if you can jump into your coaching stance, they're there to find their own answers. When we hold the person coming to us as completely creative, resourceful, and whole, and release judgment, we know that they have the answer they're looking for. We just need to be there to hold the space so they can find it. So boosting productivity, we already talked about the developing the bench, and improving retention. You know, there's a whole group of people coming into our workforce now and in the next several years that are all about coaching. This millennial generation must have coaching. So if your organization is looking at building a culture of coaching or establishing some strength around this competency, you're moving absolutely in the right direction. So let's look at that. Let's look at some of the companies that are building these cultures of coaching. I really love this, you know, this quote here from the Entrepreneur magazine, or entrepreneur.com rather, just talking about this concept of building cultures of coaching. And when we see this next slide, we'll see that there's a bunch of logos that you're really going to recognize, and there's plenty more. This is very much a short list, I have to tell you, very much a short list of those companies that are very much interested in building cultures of coaching. This is a very important time, particularly now, especially since we're remote now. You know, people reaching out and really holding space for people to find their own solutions by using coaching, really important during this time. And so one thing I want to say about a couple of companies on this list, and so we have Ernst & Young, and where's the other one? I know the other one's on there too. Where is it? Oh, PricewaterhouseCoopers, yeah. All right, so let me tell you about the differences between these two organizations as I understand this. So I'm an ICF coach, International Coach Federation, which is the gold standard for global coaching, global professional coaching. And I attended an event here in San Diego, a couple of months back. Actually, it would be a year ago now. And it was a talk by the coaching folks at Ernst & Young. In Ernst & Young, they have a coaching division, if you will. So their coaching is in-house. It's through their human resources department. It's through their internal organization. Different from that, PricewaterhouseCoopers, they hire out coaches. So they bring in independent coaches from outside of the organization and have a mix of inside coaches and outside coaches. So there's a lot of different approaches that you can use. You can either build this competency in your management team, or you can have a coaching staff inside. And as Agile coaches, we know that this is part of our competency. And I have to tell you that in 2015, when I took Coaching Agile Teams with Lisa Atkins, I was first made aware of that competency model and really honing in on those competencies. And so it was at that point where I began to build my competency in that wedge, not just my ICF credential, but also studying the ORSC theory. And so these are all the different ways that we can approach this concept of coaching. All right. Thank you for your question, Ivan. I will absolutely be able to share the sources for the research. All right, so let's look at how coaching is defined. And so we have two different definitions here. We have the ICF, which is the International Coach Federation, and we have the Ken Blanchard Company. Now, if you've been around for any length of time and have studied anything in the management and leadership arena, the Ken Blanchard Company is probably a very familiar resource for this kind of thing. What I want you to do is I want you to look at both of those definitions of coaching, and I want you to pull out, what do you think are the things that are common between these two definitions? And you can go ahead and drop that in the chat. What do you think is common between these two definitions of coaching? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Conversation, thank you, Mark. What else do we see? Personal empowerment, yeah. Environment, process, partnering. Help people maximize potential, yeah. These are some of the things that we see are the commonalities between these two definitions. Now, the ICF definition, this idea of a thought-provoking, creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. And when you look at the definition of coaching also out on the ICF website, it also reminds us that the person that we're coaching is creative, resourceful, and whole. And so when we come to that conversation without judgment and we stay open to the process, we can really help them find the solutions that they are looking for. And I'll tell you, it's such a huge relief, because when they come to you and you're like, you already got your own stuff going on, you know, you could really be more of service when you can jump into that coaching stance. All right, thank you for that. Great, great, great. So let's look at what coaching is not. You know, I find, particularly with the Agile coaching community, because we have these this competency model, and we have this concept of facilitation and mentoring and professional coaching and training, all these things are part of the competency. A lot of times just what is coaching gets confused with other things. And so I just want to clear that up. And so we see here, we've got mentoring, we've got mentoring, we've got, that's on the upper left here. We've got consulting, which is up here on the right. And I often find that as Agile folks coming in, sometimes we need to be more clear about the fact that we are bringing in these different competencies. And consulting is more about advice giving, whereas coaching isn't that at all. And if we are actually giving advice under an ICF credential, you could compromise that credential by being in advice giving. And so you really want to be careful of that. So we're not there to give advice. when we're coaching. Mentoring, we know mentoring, that's a little bit different. I have a skill set, I have some domain expertise, and I'm showing you how to do something, I'm telling you how to do something. I have sports coaching down here in the bottom right-hand corner. That kind of feels like mentoring to me. Sports coaching, if I were to look at it in alignment with anything else here, it seems more like sports coaching. And then bottom left here, what do you think this is in the bottom left-hand corner? What's that? I'm gonna drop that in the chat. What does that look like? So it's not mentoring, it's not consulting. Yeah, therapy, yeah. Where there's a couch, there's therapy, right? And so that is our therapy. And so therapy is not coaching either. And what's interesting about this, I was attending, I do some coaching for an organization called Wiser. And it is a consortium of professional women who are there to support and develop others around building their profession, building their entrepreneurial story. And I was on a forum right when COVID hit, because we were there to coach, and we were going to be coaching essential workers. And we wanted to be sure that we knew where coaching stopped and where therapy picked up. And so there was a great presentation to look at those differences, because these are not the same modalities, and we want to make sure that we're not crossing over into an area that is inappropriate for our licensure or our credentialing. And so it was very interesting. These are not the same thing, and it is important to know how and when to refer. And on that note, I partner with a group of different therapists that I just have in my speed dial, so that if I ever have a situation where a client of mine needs greater support than what my licensure can provide, I can reach out to one of those therapists to help them. So really important to know that there are differences in these different modalities. You know, one of the things that distinguishes coaching from, I'll say, any of these other, I'll say therapy as an example, is that coaching is very future focused. We look at where we stand today and we move ourselves forward. So for instance, if somebody comes to me and they've got a problem, right? Here's the problem. They've got all this stuff going on, and they're just kind of coming at you with the problem. Instead of me saying, well, gee, tell me a little bit more about what happened, the first thing that I'm going to do is ground us in the moment and take us forward. So whatever happened, we can't change that, right? And so what we want to do is take them from where they are right in the moment and then move them forward. We'll see that when we get into our exercise. You'll get a chance to do that. So very future forward and action oriented. All right, so we are coming up to our scenario. I'm going to, on the next slide, we're going to bring up the scenario, and you're going to get a chance to take a look at that scenario. And what I want you to do is take a look at the scenario and just jot down a few notes about how you would handle this situation. Thinking about what you know about coaching, how would you handle this situation? And then we're going to get a chance to see a 5-minute and 36-second video clip that actually shows a coaching scenario, a coaching instance around this scenario. So you'll get a chance to actually see some differences here. All right, so let's take a look at this scenario and see. All right, so here's the scenario. You are the manager. You and your employee have had a conversation about this issue before. You're running into him in the hallway, and he brings it up again and asks for your time. You have 5 minutes before your next meeting. The issue is he's having a conflict with a fellow employee that's shutting him down. You're in a rush to a meeting. How do you handle this? So you can just write down a couple of notes. If you want to put them in chat, you can do that. But a couple of notes about what do you do and what do you say in that moment. The scenario is also in chat. John just went ahead and put it into the chat. And I'm not going to go into the breakout room for this, John, because I want to allow more time for them to do the actual coaching bit. So the scenario's in there. Think about it. If you want to share in the chat how you might handle this, that's great. And so here's the thing about how you might handle it. There's no judgment about it. You would handle it however you handle it. This is just an exploration. We're here to try to understand and learn. I mean, I figure by the fact that we have as many people as we have here, there's enough people that are interested in learning more about this concept. So there's no judgment about how you would handle it. Feel free to share it in the chat. And if a couple people would like to jump on and share how they would handle this, you're welcome to do that too. Anybody want to jump on? And I can't see everybody, so you might have to just jump off of mute if you want to share. Thanks, John. I see that. All right, so lots of folks putting things in the chat. All right. Excellent. Yeah. So this is a very typical scenario. How often, well, what's different about it now is that you're not running into anybody in any hallways, because you're not in any hallways unless you're in the hallway in your house. And you're running into your family members in that case. But if you're talking about a professional scenario, this is a little different. And so when someone's really looking for some support, they're actually going to have to reach out to you a little differently. There's not going to be this, hey, can I catch you on your way to your meeting thing. But this still exists, and you might be getting ready to jump on your next Zoom call and somebody gets you in a Slack message or a chat message and wants to get some support. So this can be, even in a virtual sense, a very typical scenario. All right. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the video. Hopefully this is going to work. All right, we're going to jump into the video, and then we'll take a look at this. And here's what I want you to notice in the video. I want you to just notice who is telling who what to do. I want you to notice that. Is there anybody telling anybody what to do? I want you to notice that. And then I want you to notice how the accountability bit comes apart. Where does the accountability part take place in this video? Okay, that's what you're looking for here. And if you notice anything else, that's great. I can't wait to hear what you see. All right. All right. So let's see if this is gonna work. And here we go. So we have our channel here. Let's just hope this works. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and start it. Hold on. I just figured this out. Share computer sound. I just figured that out the other day. All right. So now you should hear
If we were in the hallway,
Can you hear
we're working together, there's a conversation maybe that's happened previously around this, and we're running into each other in the hallway. Lori is my employee, and he's got something to chat about.
All right. Hey, Signe, boy, I'm so glad I caught you.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'm on my way to a meeting. I've only got about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can I have the 5 minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
You know that project I'm working on?
Okay, yep.
We talked about it before. It's going well, but I'm really having trouble with Frank.
Okay. Okay. What's the trouble that you're experiencing?
Well, first of all, we seem to clash. Like it almost feels like anytime I say something, he always seems to have to say something contrary, is what it feels like.
Okay, so contrary or one-upmanship, is it?
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just started to notice that, like when we're offline, we seem to get along, but when we're in the room together, it's like, I don't know, but like he's different, and I'm just noticing, and I'm starting to.
So what does that bring up for you?
Well, it's bringing up for me, wow, I wonder if I've done anything wrong. Okay. Have I somehow pissed him off?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I guess that's.
So it sounds like confusion. Sounds like there's a place of confusion.
Definitely confusion, and I'm starting. I'm starting to be reluctant to speak up.
Oh, in the meetings.
Yeah.
So you're starting to hold back.
Yeah.
And kind of, that's a big impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know who you are. You're someone that speaks up and has an opinion, and I want you to know that those opinions, they're really valued around here. So it's really important that you actually find that way to have your voice in this situation.
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, I get. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you need in order to feel like you can really be yourself in those meetings?
It's so obvious, but I guess I'm noticing I'm even reluctant to speak it. But I need to talk to Frank.
Yeah. What is it you need to say to him?
The censored or the uncensored version?
Give it to me straight.
Like, what's up? Why do you keep shutting me down? That's what it feels like.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you think he's going to respond to that? Actually, here, let me tell you. I mean, so maybe you're giving me the uncensored version.
Yeah.
And maybe there's something I'm picking up about, like, well, to possibly give it to him in a way that he's going to be more receptive to it. Because,
Yeah.
yeah, so...
Because I'm almost feeling like I'm attacking him.
Yeah.
That's what I
so
want to do.
Yeah, it's what you want to do. Yeah, great noticing. And what's the thing that you can say to him that's going to enroll him into having that conversation with you?
Well, I guess the first thing would be to just say, hey, Frank, can we talk about, just maybe grab lunch or something.
Great. Yeah. Can we have a conversation?
Yeah. Because actually what's coming up as we're talking is, as I said to you, we actually do get along outside of the room.
Great. So great idea to have it as a conversation outside the room.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great insight.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So have that conversation with him. What are the key points that you want to cover in it?
A little lost here because I keep wanting to say, so Frank, why do you keep shutting me down? So I want to go.
Right. And we know that's not going to be effective.
Yeah.
What's the thing you want to get out of it?
That every time I open my mouth, I don't feel like I'm being somehow attacked or judged.
Right. So you want to have a sense of options, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Doesn't feel like it didn't quite land.
But something is coming up for me. I could try this. I'm a little reluctant to, but I might say, maybe instead of like attacking him, say, hey, Frank, I'm noticing this is happening.
Yeah.
Have I done, I could, okay. I
see
could
where this
do
is
it
going.
that
This
way.
is great.
Yeah, I could say something like, so have I done anything wrong?
Right, so you can actually almost turn it
And
around.
open up the conversation that way.
Super.
Yeah.
And I heard you say a minute ago that you're feeling a little bit reluctant. Here's what I know about you. When you share what's really going on for you, it has a big impact. Like you're the kind of person who people stop and listen to. So, yeah, really, I'm really excited that you're consciously choosing to make this decision about how you're going to work with Frank and work this out. Yeah. Good. Okay. So when are you going to have this conversation with him?
I'm gonna actually call him today and set it up for later in the week.
Okay. Will you drop me an email after you've had the conversation with him?
I will.
Okay. And if you don't, like if it's come to the end of the week and you haven't had the conversation, fire me an email.
I'll let you know.
Just to let me know that you didn't have it, but when you will have it. Great. I look forward to hearing what happens.
Thanks for the 5 minutes.
Okay. Good.
All righty. So here's the thing that I really appreciate about this. What she did here in 5 minutes and 36 seconds isn't really it's not easy. It's really not easy. And I'll tell you the absolute biggest thing that makes it difficult is the self-control that you need to have as a coach to not be jumping into fix it mode. Fix it and fix her or fix him mode. And it takes so much, because, it takes one to know one, right? I've been a fixer for many years. Someone comes to me with a problem, I've got an answer. Well, that's not coaching, and that's not holding them creative, resourceful, and whole in their own solutions, and it's also enabling. And so we want to really make sure that we're holding the space for them to come to their own solutions. Even in this video, it's a very couple of interesting points, and I've seen it a billion times, but when he's thinking and there's that silence, that's where you start to get edgy, and that's where you want to start fixing. You want to kind of just jump in there. And we're going to see this in a second when you get a chance to start doing this yourself, because you're going to get a chance to do some coaching yourself. All right. So what observations do you have here about this? Go ahead and drop those out in the chat. One thing that I'm going to point out, and I think I point this out later, but maybe I don't. So if I don't do it later, I'll do it now. That when we're asking these questions, there are certain questions that can help move the conversation along, and then there's certain questions that can help people, or that may cause somebody to get defensive. And so what you may notice is that she used a lot of what and how. These are the openings to our powerful questions. Not open-ended, not closed-ended questions like, did you see Frank? Yes. Did he say this? No. That not closed-ended questions, but open-ended questions that start with what and how. We want to steer clear as much as we can from why questions. Why questions bring the hair up on the back of people's neck and they feel like they have to defend something. We're not trying to create that space. We're trying to create psychological safety. And why can sometimes put us on the edge of that. So what and how are the way we want to open up those questions. All right. Yeah. So a lot of you are noticing that the coach here guided Fury to his own solution. He thought about it, he churned on it, she just held the space and just asked him questions to move him along. The first question I think she asked, and I think I have to tell you, this is probably one of my most powerful questions that I ask in coaching, is what do you need? That question is, it usually, someone comes to you and they're all, and then you give them the, well, what is it that you need to do whatever the thing is? And it just stops them. This is, talk about getting people focused. It just stops them and has them really thinking about what's important for them and what they need. So that part is important. So thank you for the comments you're putting here in the chat. The other thing that you notice about that video is that it has the prompts along the way, so you can see where she's asking the powerful questions. You can see where she's doing the acknowledgement. You can see where she's building the accountability. This is just walking through what's called the PCC markers. In the ICF organization and certification process, there's different levels of competency. And you can see that she's moving through those markers. I think I'm going to talk about that in a bit as well. All right. So I've mentioned this a couple of times that when we're in coaching, we want to assume that the person we are coaching is naturally creative, resourceful, and whole, and completely capable of finding their own answers to whatever it is they're bringing to us. Now that's challenging for us as human beings because we love to judge, right? I mean, we are judges and it just is what it is. It's part, I wrote a blog post on this on LinkedIn the other day, that we have bias. It's part of our makeup because we need to be able to determine, do I fight or do I flight? So this judgment feature that we have, but we're not running from saber-toothed tigers anymore. We're working with coworkers. And so we need to sort of manage and sort of tamp that judgment so that we can hold our person coming at us as creative, resourceful, and whole. And that's where all the self-management comes in. And it's a lot of work. I know for me it is. I don't know about you. Maybe it's easy for you, but it's a lot of work for me. But this is how we want to hold them: creative, resourceful, and whole. Get into a curiosity mindset, not an interrogation mindset, and a curiosity mindset, and really help them find their own solutions. This is what I was mentioning before. These are the competency markers for PCC. This is from coachfederation.org, which is ICF. And PCC is the middle level of certification. And when you go through and get to that level of certification, or just to get the entry level of certification, you have to be able to pass all of these competency markers. The point that I want to make here is that accountability is built into the arc of a coaching conversation. So if you're following these accountability markers, or excuse me, these competency markers, it's just part of the conversation. So it's built into the conversation, just like she did in 5 minutes and 36 seconds. Accountability was built in. And so this is what we're looking for, right? Because you don't want that person coming at you, you have a conversation, and then you just run off, and then you have no, what did you decide to do here? What's the action step that's going to happen? And so the arc of the conversation in coaching, it's all baked in. All right, So we are going to jump in and you're going to get a chance to do some coaching. And I am excited for you to do this. All right, so let's go to our next slide here. Oh, before we get into the coaching though, I'm going to give you some tips. I got a couple of tips for you. And these are going to help you when you get into this coaching, because you are going to go into breakout rooms and you are going to get a chance to coach with another person. And since we have so many people, why don't we break this up into threes, John? Do we have enough breakout rooms to break people up into threes so that you can have an opportunity to have two people coach and then observe and then move and then move it around for a bit so we can give everybody a chance to do it?
We can have
Yeah.
as many rooms as we want. I just need to make some changes here, but yes, we can have at least 3 in a room.
Okay, good, thank you. All right, so let's go to our tips here so we don't miss anything. Thank you all for hanging in here. I'm trying to watch the slides, watch the room, watch the chat. I don't want to miss anything, and if I have missed something, I'll try to get back into the chat. I don't want to miss your comments. I appreciate all of your energy and engagement in the chat. And let's jump into these tips, and then you'll get a chance to try it out. All right, so here's what I love. These are one of the things that you'll learn if you go through a professional coaching program. You'll learn this concept of levels of listening. And I very much appreciated hearing this. This comes to us from the Coactive group. Level 1 of listening, I'll just tell you what that is. So, and I'll just use Nancy as an example. So Nancy and I are having a conversation, and Nancy's talking to me, and I'm looking at Nancy, and I'm nodding my head. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to make for dinner, what I need to put in my Instacart box, what I need to get tires on my truck. I need to go pick my camper up from the dealership on Sunday. So yeah, so that's level 1 listening. Hey, it is what it is. We're human. The point of this slide is to be aware that there are these different levels of listening, so that when you catch yourself thinking about your tires on your truck and your RV and your Instacart order, you can just sort of be aware of it and get yourself to level 2. Level 2 listening is I'm really listening to the conversation. I'm listening to Nancy's word choices. I'm noticing that Nancy's having a little bit of a difference in her energy. She seemed a little bit more excited when she said one thing versus another thing. Her energy came down, it came up. The word choices, she was using some really interesting word choices. So this is what I'm doing when I'm level 2 listening. I'm really honed in on what's happening. Level 3 listening, I'm noticing everything in level 2 and everything that's going on around me. So it's a very global type of listening. You're listening to your gut here more too. I find that as I've moved along in my craft of coaching, my gut is loud and clear for me now because I'm paying attention to it. And when I honor that, that's where the real magic has happened in my coaching. So here's the thing. You're going to go into this coaching. You're going to start thinking about all the stuff that's in your head, and you're just going to notice. You're just going to notice. There's no judgment about it. Just notice. And you might notice, what am I thinking about instead of what this person is saying? So this will be a chance for you to just sort of tune into what's happening with that. All right, so that's the first thing, the levels of listening. The second thing is, and this happens all the time, and it's so hard, especially when you're like trying to get into it, this idea of asking one question at a time. You might notice that when you get into this coaching thing with somebody, that you start firing off those questions, and they're like, blah, 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 which one am I supposed to answer, right? In the coaching world, we call that stacking questions. And so you don't want to stack the question. You want to ask one question at a time. This is where the self-management comes in. I've got to control myself and maybe write the question down if you feel like it's about to fly out of your mouth. Just write it down so that you can hold on to it. Stick with those open-ended questions, the what and the how, and then get comfortable with the silence. In my coaching craft, what I love is the silence, because the silence says that I've asked a good question and they're thinking. I've asked a good question and they're thinking. And that's what coaching is about. So you want to go ahead and give them that opportunity to think about what it is that you've asked them. I'm sorry, I just dumped my whole bucket of water onto my book here, and so I've made a mess. All right, so that's that. The fourth bullet point is wait. That's a little thing for you to remember, a little acronym. When you're in a coaching stance, you can constantly remind yourself, if you find yourself doing more talking than you should be, why am I talking? That's what wait stands for. In a coaching conversation, 20% is the coach talking, and that's just you asking questions and keeping structure and this kind of thing. 80% is the other person talking. So wait is to remind you that you're probably talking and you shouldn't be. All right. And then listen beyond level 1. Those are your tips. Okay. All right. So we've got those tips, levels of listening, and we've got ask one question at a time, stick to open-ended questions, get comfortable with the silence, and then wait, and then listen above level 1. All right. So we're going to jump on in. Going to jump on in. Now this handout is going to come to you in the chat. John's going to drop this handout in the chat. And this is a handout that I put together from one of my favorite books when people are just learning and starting this concept of coaching. This book is called The Coaching Habit, Talk Less, what is it? Talk Less and something more. Oh, ask more and change the way you lead forever. He also has a book called The Advice Trap, which is kind of part 2 of that conversation. I'll put these links in the chat when you come back from your session. But this handout, did we put it in the session already? The handout, John? Oh, we're sending
there's a Google Drive link in the chat that should bring up the PDF for people.
Perfect, thank you. All righty, thank you, sir. So yeah, this handout is just going to give you the questions from this book, The Coaching Habit. It's going to give you these questions from this book called The Coaching Habit, and you're just going to get a chance to play around with these questions. You can start in whatever order you want to. If you want to start at the first one, feel free to do that. You can start in whatever order you want to. But the point is to just see what this is like, to ask the questions, the open-ended questions, notice you're listening, and just kind of notice how the thing goes. Now we have, let's see, we have until, I think we're going to have 20 minutes on this. Yeah, we're going to have 20 minutes on this. So you want to make sure you're not going to get through all the questions. So don't try to get through all the questions. You're not going to get through all of them because you're going to have 3 people in each session, and everybody needs to be able to dip their toe in this for a little bit. Okay. So we're going to send in reminders at the 3 it's going to be divided into 3. So at the 7-minute mark and at the 14-minute mark, we're going to send in a note just to make sure you're switching, to make sure everybody gets a chance to try it out. Does everybody have the handout?
Yeah, make sure you open up that link now, because once you jump into the breakout room, the chat will clear.
Yes. You won't be able to get it from, your chat when you get into the breakout room will be the breakout room chat. So you want to make sure that you get the link now and grab that handout. And even if one of you has it in the room, that's fine. All right. So so as you're coaching, just notice what's happening for yourself. Notice how you ask the questions. If you're level 1, level 2 listening, if you want to stack those questions, just notice what goes on for you, and then switch and give everybody a chance. So you'll need a timekeeper, and you'll need some ability to move between, everybody that's in the room, so everybody gets a chance to talk. Okay? So we have a role of a person being coached and the person who is coaching. And so you're going to get a chance to be a coachee at some point. So as I'm sitting here talking right now, think of something you want to bring to the topic. Bring a topic to the session when we go in. Are you ready? We're going to have 20 minutes. We're going to have 20 minutes.
If you have any questions or anything comes up when you're in the breakout room, there should be an ask for help button.
Yes. Please find the ask for help button.
If you want to summon somebody.
Yes, and we'll race in to help you. Okay. All right, we're going to go ahead and put you in 20 minutes, and then we'll put in at intervals to let you know how we're going. All right, let's go into our rooms. 20 minutes. Are the rooms coming up? I think they are. It looks like it, maybe.
They are. I see people rapidly disappearing.
I see them all flying into their rooms. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like taking longer than I usually see on my
Yeah,
side.
well, we have a lot of people on this call, so I
We've
think
got
that's part of it. When the invitation comes up, go ahead and just select it and it'll pop you into the room. Maybe some of these people that are here are not, they're not like behind the name. I mean, maybe they've stepped away or something.
Yeah, they might not be in front of their computer. I know
Yeah, may
some
not be,
people
yeah.
just dial in and then
Yeah.
go about doing something else.
Hi, I joined late.
We'll pop you into a room.
Thank you.
Someone in the room should have a handout, and so you can jump in and join with them.
And sorry, who was that talking?
Yasmin, I think.
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah, I see you. I'm going to put you in a room right now.
Thank you.
And it looks like John Cook. Are you going into a room?
I went into a room and I was there by myself.
Oh, okay.
Give me just a second. Was that Scott? Sam and Scott. Okay, I'm gonna.
John Cook.
Yeah, we have a lot of people sort of like, it looks like they were disappearing as the event was starting. So let's try this again.
Okay.
Right.
Sam. We've gotten a few more than I expected not assigned.
They didn't know Alicia was going to make them do work tonight. They said, oh, I'm out of here. I'm not
Some people do that.
I am so in.
Is there anybody else who's still in the main room with us that
Yeah,
was
Yes.
John
trying?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think on the mobile it's not popping up the breakout.
Okay, let me see if I can send you directly.
Thank you.
Make sure it's not an empty room. Actually, we've got enough people. Let me do this.
I need to go get a towel. I just threw my water all over my bullet journal and all. I just waved my hand and it just knocked my water all over everything. Ah, let me go clean it.
I've been there, done that so many times.
Okay, and I saw Monway was asking about the links. Let me get those. Who else is still in the main room with us that is not getting where they were trying to go?
Looks like John's still here with us. John, did you?
Well, I got the original invite to go to a sub room, and then I went there, and then I sat there for a while by myself.
Let me
So I guess I'm looking for another invitation here.
yeah, and there were some people that left as they were coming in. So you were in
19.
Yeah, and there are some people in there now waiting for you. Let me see if I can.
Okay, send me back.
Let's see if it'll let me do that. 21, and then let me send you back. See if that works. Did you get an invite?
No.
Just hopefully somebody who's still in the room also is watching the. I haven't been watching the time since the
I
breakout
have
room
a
started.
timer on.
John, it says you're not joined.
I spill water all over the place.
Hold on. I'm going to bump you out into the waiting room and I'm going to bring you right back in. Hang on one second. See if that'll take him out of the breakout rooms. Okay, and that should bring you, John, back into the room here. And now I'm going to put you in a room.
Well then.
Let me know if that sent you an invite or not. links.
John Cook is still here. I wonder if there's a pop-up blocker. Does it block invitations?
Oh, maybe, yeah. You're on mute, John Cook.
Okay, who muted me?
It might have muted you when I bumped you out into the
Oh,
waiting room to
okay.
try to
All
get
right.
your prompts to reset.
Okay. All right. So no, I got the original invite, but I haven't gotten a subsequent one. But I'm just kind of wondering, it doesn't look like we have too many people here. Why don't we just do the people that are here?
Yeah, we can. I mean, if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, you and David and Amy here. Jump on in.
And we got the expert here with us too. So that's a bonus. Yeah.
Jump on in. Yes.
Okay.
So
Right.
I'll jump in if you need me. So I'll just put my camera off so I'm not intruding in your.
Well, no, by all means, go ahead. For one thing, I didn't download the prerequisite, so.
Oh, let's see.
Jerry's also reporting that there was no one in her breakout room.
I was just looking at that. Can I just get a time check?
Yeah, sure. We have 14 minutes.
Let me just send that out now, and then I can
Okay.
keep looking at that. I just put the link to the thing back at the top of the chat.
Okay, well, I got a topic I can throw out here. So how's everybody doing with Zoom and the whole idea of virtual meetings?
Well, I'll be happy to chat about that one, John, because I love in-person gatherings. I really do. And I miss being able to be in a room with people, especially in a training class. I just sat through a training class earlier in the week, and all the fun things we used to do with physical stickies and Sharpies, it's not the same. I know we've inspected, adapted to this new way of doing things, but I miss that tactile learning and that distribution of physical things to tables and everyone standing up and getting fired up when you do an exercise. So I think there's something to be said for being together. Now, also on the flip side, there are people who would not normally attend classes attending because they don't have to book a flight and a hotel room. And, so I'm meeting people from all over instead of just in my area or those that company can afford to send them to wherever I am. So I think that's been pretty cool. So I think it's mixed. It's a mixed blessing, good and bad. I don't know. I'm a coach for Fidelity at the moment. And I know I coach people from all over too. And I didn't really have all the folks I was coaching in my space. I'm in New Hampshire and I was coaching people from all over anyway. So even when I went to the New Hampshire office, there weren't too many people there that I was interacting with on a regular basis, but I did get to have lunch with my coworkers. So I miss having a bad lunch in the cafeteria with people just to chat for an hour. So how about you? What's going on for you?
I used to say to people that if, I feel that it's very important when I'm coaching that I'm with the people that I'm coaching so that I can observe them, and so that we're connected with each other. And so it's been an interesting experience transitioning to where we are now. But it's not as bad as I thought that it would be, because I think I'm learning ways to engage people in conversations via Zoom or whatever. A lot of my teams actually use Teams, but it's the same idea, And so it's all about being virtually together, but still getting that human connection. I think that that's really what we need to have.
Now you said you didn't think it was like as bad as you thought it would be. What was your concern about it at the beginning? What was your biggest concern about going virtual all the time?
I guess just the fear of not being in the room and being able to see the body language, and it's tougher to see body language when you're looking over a video, but it's not impossible. I think it's a different skill.
Yeah, I agree. I think my biggest concern was just not being present. You know, like Alicia's talking about that you're doing something else, thinking about something else, multitasking. So
Yeah.
how are you handling the people that don't go on camera?
I'm sorry, you broke out there.
Oh, yeah.
How am I handling people? What?
Who refuse to get on the camera or won't get on the video?
I found that the team has a lot to do with that. So if the team tends to go that way, they'll kind of bring people along. Because I mean, there's definitely outliers in my experience, but I don't want to put myself into a position where I'm telling people that they really ought to show themselves. I may say, something to the effect, "Hey, I hadn't seen you in a while. I'd really like to see you," or something like that.
Yeah.
But I find that the team will actually bring people into the meeting,
Mm.
and so I tend to go with that. So.
I've had some good luck recently with talking about, I heard a talk and I cannot remember who gave this talk, but there was a talk about that very thing, remote situations and how do you get people fully engaged. And I remember the person who gave the talk said, and I wish I could remember her name, I think it was female. She said, it's like going out to dinner with somebody who turns their chair around and shows you the back of their head the entire meal. Would you do that? Would you go out to dinner with someone, friend, family, whatever, and turn your chair around and show them the back of your head the entire meal? And of course, everyone looks around. No, why would anyone do that? And she said, well, when you refuse to get on camera in a conference call, Zoom, remote situation, that's what you're doing virtually. That stuck with me. That has stuck with me ever since I heard it. So now when I see, some teams or they ask me how to deal with that, I always tell that story. And that seems to work, at least temporarily. I don't know, but that's the story I tend to tell now when that happens, because I never thought about it like that. She gave me a whole new way to think about that situation. And that was pretty compelling. So now I'm mindful of that too. When I get on, I think, wow, did I turn my camera on? Oh, I'm showing someone the back of my head. How rude. That's so rude of me to do. So,
Well, and I mean, in this day and age, I know we're kind of going off on a tangent here,
little bit.
but there's so many telephone conversations, and I'm going, why don't we just get on Zoom and look at each other and have a conversation and have it be real? But I got to do something just because of your story here.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a big problem in my group too. I'm also at Fidelity, and the person running the meeting will say 4 or 5 times, "Everybody turn on your camera. Everybody go off mute. It doesn't matter if you have kids. Doesn't matter. We're all dealing with this. It's more important that everybody be fully engaged than the meeting be totally silent."
David, you're at Fidelity? You didn't tell me you came over to Fidelity.
Well, I'm not working I'm consulting at Fidelity through another company.
That's okay. That's awesome.
Yeah, in the APS group, in
Okay.
advanced. Yeah. we'll talk, and there you go.
Yeah, dogs are okay. My cat will come in here in a minute and start yelling at me about something.
They've been so good and been asleep this entire time in my office with me. You wouldn't even know. Something fell in the other room, and now they are Cujo running to get it. They're 7 pounds and 10 pounds, so I don't know what they think they're gonna do, but I appreciate the effort. My
Well,
little
Very sonic deterrent.
yes. Wow.
So I don't know if the people here are zombies or what, but there's a good many people that are in our space here that have muted themselves, and they're also not sharing their video. So I wonder if they would have anything that they would like to add to the conversation about not sharing your video and not participating.
What an excellent question.
Yeah, I mean,
don't-
this is a little different
Yeah.
because it's a meeting that generally has like a presenter that some people participate into it. To a certain degree, it's not like a meeting where everybody's there as an equal and supposed to be fully engaged and getting paid for it.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
I do want to know though. I mean, I know Ula is out there and Sharon's been out there for a while, and I'm just hoping that they're okay. That they're getting something that they need from this, and they don't need help with their technology or something, because I know that's always. I think some people are embarrassed sometimes to say they can't figure out how to unmute, or I know that I try to be mindful of that too. I realize that some people are not technologically savvy. They've not been faced with this whole Zoom thing. I mean, I don't think my mom would know how to do Zoom unless I sat next to her and showed her, push this, don't push this. She texts, but
Yeah.
she's not even, I wouldn't even know how to explain Zoom to her on the phone. I think that would take a while. And there's a cool video out there of that. I don't know if all of you have seen. There's a video of a person explaining Zoom to his mom. It's not in English, but they translate it. And it doesn't need to be. The body language, John, that you talked about, the faces he's making, the expression, you can tell what's happening in the conversation. And you just see him go, no, mom, the left, on the left, the left. No, farther. Yep, on the left. All the way. No, you have to invite me. You have to invite me. No, you have to invite my sister. You have to hit the invite. I'll invite you, Mom. No, don't hit the, and it's just so hilarious. And it reminds me of that video I'm sure you've all seen, shit bad Scrum Masters say, or something like that.
Yeah.
It's along those lines of really funny, and just I needed the laugh. So I think you could probably YouTube it and find, man explains Zoom to mom or something like that. And that was a really good one. So yeah, I've had my share of those too. And we're using Mural. I don't know if you're familiar with Mural, but that's also not completely intuitive for everyone. So I've done a lot of Mural 101 sessions lately too.
Well, there's Muriel and then there's Miro.
Oh, Miro, Miro.
Yeah,
right.
But there's also Muriel.
I like Jamboard better.
Yeah.
It's a little easy, because I do a lot of online trainings, and Miro to me is just a little too chunky or clunky to navigate if you've never used it before.
Thanks, John E.
Yeah, Jamboard is better.
Oh, there's your face, John E. I was wondering if you were going to show us the back of your head the whole time.
It was my Zoom updated, and for whatever reason, the client wasn't logged in correctly to show my picture. I should be on camera, but I'll be that person to admit that I've been on calls all day since very early Pacific time, and I haven't showered, so I don't have my suitable hair and makeup for Agile New England.
Well, thank you so much, John. I appreciate it. The suitable hair and makeup. All right, in 1 minute, John, we're going to pull them back.
I think everyone cared about that for the first 2 months, and now I think
people are over it.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? This is me. This is how it goes.
What you get.
Right? That's it. I don't
Yeah.
care about the background. I don't care about the front ground. It doesn't matter.
There he is.
Yeah.
Hello, God.
I
You
also
look
have the
fine.
Alicia problem, which is like my camera's over here, but the screen I'm
Yeah.
looking at is over
'Cause
here.
I'm looking
So
at all these
you're
different
looking at least the side of my head in the best
That's all
case
right.
scenario.
We'll take your profile. It's all good.
All right, I'm going to start closing down the breakout
all right,
rooms.
thank you. So we have until the half hour mark, right?
Yes, 8:30.
5:30 my time. Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, because we're going to come back. We're going to hear what people have to say, kind of what they noticed, and then we'll do that in chat. With this many people, it's better to just do it in chat because it's just too much to be opening up the mics for this many people.
Sure thing.
So,
I'm learning.
Alicia, as you know, we didn't do what we were supposed to do, but we had a good time.
Yes, you did. You had a great time. Well, and this is an interesting topic. I need to spend some time thinking about it because as I'm listening to you, I think about the concept of working agreements and team norms and, what we all agree to and what's important to us and why do we have this and, designing a team alliance. It's all this kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, you still need people to do it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And you got to find your way as a team too, right?
Got folks coming back in. All right, so we've got everybody coming back in. Come on in, back into the room. So in the chat, you'll see a few links because I know some folks have had to scoot. I don't want you to miss the opportunity to sign up for the Agile EQ assessment if you want to do that. And if you want to connect on LinkedIn, that kind of stuff. But the link to do the feedback, the presentation feedback, is in the chat, and right underneath that is your complimentary Agile EQ assessment. And all you have to do is just fill out your name, your email address, and just say you want the assessment or something. I think there's some instructions in there for what to do. But make sure you do that. I'm going to send all of those links out tomorrow for you to take those assessments. And you have until the 15th of October to complete it. So you've got some time to do it. And what you'll get is a fantastic, really robust report that will tell you what your emotional intelligence is. It'll tell you where you are, and then you can decide where you want to go from there. So it's a fantastic assessment. I'm so thrilled that Wiley is so generous with these speaker support. And so I think I said I have 60. So the first 60 people to jump in there and grab that, we'll get those assessments. All right. So you are all back. So tell me, what did you discover in your session of coaching? Go ahead and drop that in the chat. Were you in level 1 listening, thinking about your Instacart and your tires? Did you do level 2 listening? Were you in the did you try some of the questions? You really wanted to ask a why question. That's the self-control. Yeah, that why, you just want to ask that one so bad. But I'll tell you, I found that in my experience, I feel very much wanting to ask the why question. I have to think a moment. How am I going to restructure this question so I don't do this why? Yeah. Some people did some level 2 listening. Some person, I was a full stack listener. Love that. Challenging and rewarding to listen carefully. I'll tell you, the whole thing of listening is just so powerful. There is so much in people's word choices, in their energy, in the silence. There's so much power in all of that. And that's what the coaching offers you an opportunity to do. In my experience, coaching to me is an opportunity to witness somebody stepping into their greatness. And I love every coaching session that I have with my clients and with peer coaches. It's just so powerful to me. It's such a deep level of connecting, and I really, really love it. Yeah, stepping into his or her greatness, thinking about the questions from the handout. Yeah, well, and this is interesting. Thinking about the questions from the handout can be a little distracting. It's training wheels, right? Let's ask these questions and see if we can prompt the conversation and get it going. So when you decide to try this out, what I'd like for you to do as a result of trying this out, What I'd like for you to do is think about an instance where you'll get a chance to ask these questions. And let me say something about the questions on the list there. These questions come from this book, The Coaching Habit. And if I were going to get this book, actually I want to make sure that I put a link out here for you. I was supposed to do that and I forgot to do it. So let me do that right now. Let me just say something about this book. I would get it in two formats. I would get it in the paperback and I would get it in an electronic format, because he goes through and he talks about every single question and why it's important and how to ask the question. And then at the end of talking about that question, if you're doing it in an electronic version, you can just click on a podcast where he talks about more about this question. It's such a well done book. It's so organized well. It's easy to read. You just fly through it in no time flat. And it's such a great, great book. And one of the questions in there that he talks about, it's on this list, is what's the real challenge here for you? You might be tempted to just say, what's the real challenge? You want to say that whole bit there, and he breaks that question down and takes the parts off at the end and talks about how when you ask the full question, that's where all the power is. So what's the real challenge here for you is almost like this what do you need question. So powerful. Someone's coming at you, oh, I got all this stuff going on. So what's the real challenge here for you? Oh, well, I don't know. Let me think about that for a minute. So it really gets them focused back on what's really happening for them. Yeah. Let me go ahead and get this book title for you. I'm going to pop it into the chat right now. Any other drop it in the chat. Anything else that you noticed that came up for you in the chat about your level 1 and level 2 of listening, or if you were able to ask any of those questions, or if you noticed when you asked any of those questions, what happened there? So I just popped the book link into the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and pop his sequel book, which is just an awesome sequel, because part of the challenge for us as people asking these questions is we're so tempted to want to give advice. And so this next book of his is called The Advice Trap, and it is kind of helping you to manage that fixer in yourself that wants to just go ahead and solve the problem. All right, so those are the two books. So thank you for sharing your discoveries. It looks like you had a pretty robust time in there, kind of clunking your way through this. It is clunky at first, and it's all good. I'll tell you, I was in a coaching program that was designed to be an 18-month program. I finished it in about 6 months, but just starting to coach was painfully clunky. One of the things that I'll say is it's really hard to learn how to coach from reading a book. As Agile coaches, we like to collect those books. I like to get those books and read up on that stuff. But this is so experiential. You just have to muscle your way through it. It's just not something that you can do by reading a book. And so you really have to try it. And so this list of questions is a place that you can start. And using that book is a great place to start. All right, so let's get back to where we were. All right. So what did you discover? You told me what you discovered. Thank you for sharing all that great bit. So let's move on. So how do you get started with coaching? So as I mentioned, you can collect some great books, but really just getting started is the way to do it. You can use some of the questions that are in the handout. You have that handout for your use. And knowing yourself is, I'll tell you, remember I said in the beginning is that the heaviest lift in a coaching session is your self-management. So knowing yourself and how to manage yourself in these is a great place to start. And that's what this Agile EQ assessment is about. This complimentary assessment that's going to the first 60 people. This is about you getting to know yourself. Get your own coach. I actually, in one of my YouTube videos, I think it's my number 7 video about being an entrepreneur, is titled Get a Coach. And so get yourself a coach. If you're in a coaching program, pair up with peer coaches. You really, honestly, to learn how to do coaching, you gotta get coaching. When you get coaching, you can see all these different styles and ways that you can adopt your own style. Emotional intelligence and empathy is very key to this. I have a book resource I can drop for you there. And powerful questions. I think we have the powerful questions, John. Did we already put those out there? I think I have a link that I'm sharing.
I dropped the link in earlier.
Okay, good. So if you look at those earlier links, you'll find the powerful questions out there. It's a link to just a list of all these great powerful questions. And so when you take your emotional intelligence assessment, empathy is part of that. So you'll see where your baseline is for empathy, and you can see where you can go from there. So this is all part of it, just kind of getting started. Know yourself, get a coach, work on your empathy and emotional intelligence. I already mentioned ICF, the International Coach Federation. At coachfederation.org, you can find a coach there. You can find a coach there. I'm a coach. I'm happy to be of service to you as well. But there's a lot of resources out on the ICF. And if you're looking for a coaching program, let me know that as well. I'd be happy to refer you to the one that I went to. All remote, woman-owned company out of Australia. Phenomenal program. So 4 traits about powerful questions. You know, these are all such important traits, and the link that John put down below, the link that's down below, he also put in the chat so that you can have access to those 30 awesome coaching questions for leaders. But one of the great things about these powerful questions is it is a focus on the other person. You know, the what and the how is about what's happening for them, and it's not, you know, what's circling around for you. Having them open-ended, we already talked about that. And then the curiosity and having authentic curiosity. This is what distinguishes curiosity and interrogation, right? Interrogation is about me, curiosity is about you, right? And so we want to make sure that we stay in that relaxed space of curiosity. And notice what's happening for yourself. You know, when you're in a coaching situation. You know, I picked this picture because to me, it reminds me of perspective. You've got everything that's going on, and then you see what's in the frame, right? Coaching is about building perspective and shifting perspective and being aware of our own perspective. And so what I'm hoping is that in this session, you got a chance to understand why coaching was important, you know, why this is an important competency to have. You got a chance to explore it a little bit by looking at the example, looking at the video, doing it yourself. You got a chance to see that 5-minute and 36-second demo, which I just am constantly always amazed by. And you've actually got a chance to see that accountability is part of the arc of coaching conversation. And when you follow those markers and you follow that arc and get to those final points, it's just built in and you just really can't help it. And you're not telling the person what to do, you're asking them what's important for them to do, what's the action they want to take. Yeah, and then finally, those powerful questions. All of that is in service of you building your coaching craft. And it just starts with a little bit. You can take that. I've done this talk before, and people are like, yeah, I'm going to take this list of questions and I'm going to try it on my family. Well, I invite you to do that. Try it on your family, try it on your spouse, try it on whoever. But just notice what's happening for yourself and notice what's happening during the conversation and how the person responds to your genuine listening and really being cued into what's happening. I'll tell you, my professional coaching has really augmented and saved my marriage because I'm such a fixer. You know, my wife would come to me and I'm like, do this, do that, do this. That's just not it. You know, now I can really hold the space and listen and see what's really real for her and help her, really help support her finding the answers that she's looking for. So that's it, folks. That was the whole thing. I'm going to go through these resources. I'm going to tell you about each one of these and why these are important. If you want to scan your phone up on these QR codes, you're welcome to do that. These resources really are about building your coaching craft and knowing yourself, which is the foundation for being a good coach, is really getting to know yourself. I like to say that when I finished my coaching program, I met myself. At 52 years old, I met myself. It took a minute to get there, but I got there. I did. I got there. So Dare to Lead, phenomenal book, phenomenal author. This book really is about introspection. And one of the things that I love about this book is it talks about shame. And where shame shows up in organizations, we see it on teams, we see it in organizations, and we see it in individuals. I don't want to be like, you know, like an arm-waving lunatic of a fan, but I think it's on page 139 that it looks at where shame shows up in the organization, and you see 13 points that you'll start to notice. And so when you're coaching somebody, you see one of these points, you can just really hold the space for them to process that. We already talked about The Coaching Habit. That's a great book. Emotional Intelligence 2.0. What's great about that particular book is at the end of the book, there's a little envelope with a code in it for you to go out to a website and take an emotional intelligence assessment. It comes with the price of the book. I think the book is like $12. So it's really, really a great, great book. This book next, thanks for the feedback. I think it's called The Science and Art of Receiving Feedback Well. Phenomenal book. They start off talking about colonoscopies. That's a little weird, but it's a great, great book to talk about the science of feedback and what really goes on when we give and receive feedback. Such a powerful book, great for anybody doing any level of coaching. Ego is the Enemy. How about that title? Holy moly, I love Ryan Holiday. Thumbs up on that one, yes. I love this book. There's another book that he has done in his series of books that are phenomenal called The Obstacle is the Way. And I love that book because it taught, we get so tangled up in our obstacles, but the reality is sometimes going through it is where the way is to get to where we want to go. And so Ego is the Enemy, great book. A little difficult for me to sort of manage at certain points along the way, but it's a phenomenal, phenomenal book. Empathy, that's a great book to look at issues around empathy. And that's it, folks. Thank you so much for playing along, for trying out coaching. The links, John's going to drop the links for the feedback and to sign up for the complimentary DISC assessment. Thank you very much. It was my honor to be of service and to witness you step into your steps of learning how to coach. Thank you so much. And I look forward to you connecting on LinkedIn and staying in touch. And hopefully you'll take some of these tips and you'll follow up with me and let me know how they went. So thank you very much.